Sean, it's an honor to be here and excited to drop deep on a lot of cool stuff and share some insight together.
Oh, I love it, man. Yeah, no, I'm honored to have you here. Chervin, I've been following you for a while, and one of the things that I really respect about you is the leadership role that you've taken in health and wellness to take it to the next level. So, as you know about my background coming from the fitness world, there's a big difference between fitness and health and wellness. Would you agree?
I would. I mean, yeah, words are semantics, right? So it's really about intention. So if it's like an aesthetic goal of just some kind of idealism of what aesthetic perfection is, you're probably missing the boat in terms of overall wellness, longevity, and tapping into parts of you that are unknown.
I love it. I resonate with that because that's actually very much a part of my journey, because I started off going through massive struggles, and fitness was the first thing to really just sort of make it about me, to look at what a lot of those blocks were, like you're pointing to, missing the boat on a lot of things. I was, and that's why I was struggling in my life for so long. And so many people watching and listening right now, Chervin, they might be going through a lot of those struggles, and it keeps them externally focused in a way versus really sort of starting that process within. And that's what I love about the work that you're doing is health and wellness that I'm seeing about you is it's not just the outside. There's more to it. Can you say more about how you see wellness, just even on the little bit deeper level?
Yeah, we're in interesting times, and this whole technological or technocracy new religion of digital world has really changed and mutated the concepts of self-preservation and self-awareness and self-growth. And it might just be part of what this entire dimension is all about. And I don't mean that so much as in a deep, prophetic spiritual way. I'm just saying, like, maybe that's just the way we're evolving. We're evolving in this digital world. You and I are communicating on these devices right now that are pinging off radiation towers. I mean, it's pretty incredible stuff, some kind of magic. But when you really go to the root of it, it's how did we get into this position of where we've put so many eggs in one basket, if you will, in terms of what our desires are and the need to be desired. And we've kind of lost touch of reality. We've lost touch of what we were supposed to be remembering from our ancestors, from where we came from. And you can see it today in today's healthcare system. We're falling apart. Most of the systems of this country are falling apart. I'm speaking about the United States in particular. We're a Western country and we spend so much money on healthcare, yet we're miserably failing across the board in key metrics. We have obesity rates that are through the roof. We have metabolic diseases popping up all over the places. Heart disease is number one. Cancers are coming in second. All these different things that in a practical world with practical solutions and a practical approach to lifestyle, we wouldn't be seeing it at this level. And so why are we in this spell of chasing something and forgetting about the true calling, which is, metamorphosing into a life that has purpose and intention and has a desire to seek something outside of just the material self? And so I contrast a lot of these thoughts through my educations and my background. And I'm an anthroposophist. If you're not familiar with what that is, that's a form of, I would say, perspective on life that came down from Dr. Rudolf Steiner. Dr. Rudolf Steiner created biodynamic farming and Waldorf education and a real powerful cosmology of perspective of our connection to our mother and our connection to etheric above us and everything in between. And so when you approach things holistically, you're looking at every variable under the sun and beyond, and really taking into account that might be easily passed up in today's 21st century model, especially the allopathic model. And so for me, it's how you do anything is how you do everything. And
Totally.
and if you're listening to this, you know, you can.
Oh,
Are we back? Are we back on?
We're back. We are back.
Okay. So what I was saying is that you have the opportunity within yourself to make that decision, and that's practicing your own discernment. So anything that I'm talking about is not a fact or fiction or the right way or the wrong way. It's a perspective. And I think we get caught up in these miasms or these illusions that if it's not this, you're wrong. And what that does is it causes suffering, it causes failure, and nobody wants to attempt to do anything different. And so they're radically going into escapism. And at the root of everything that my core identity or my core philosophy is why are we escaping, and what is driving us to that escapism? And escapism encompasses everything, including addictions, including terrible relationships, including self-sabotage. All the things that take you out of your power is some form of escapism, some form of poverty conscious, and that encapsulates our entire life, from production to our ability to transcend, to our ability to really have beautiful physical bodies, to our ability to be healthy, and to really contribute to a flowing society. And I think that right there is like, what are we doing to contribute to society right now, except, you know, when most of the world is in this scarcity mentality. So that was kind of a long answer, but that's really at the root of it, in my opinion.
You remind me of myself. So, you know, give me one question. I can go around the world a couple times, a few different directions. So I love Absolutely. It.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It's dynamic, brother. Right? This world is dynamic, and
yes.
and that's another illusion. This left brain, one pill solution. This symptom, like, let's treat the symptom to everything instead of healing the system. All of those things, and that's my inspiration as a scientist and as someone who can see outside of the material, is like, oh, cool. I want to investigate. I want to practice the real scientific method, not the bullshit fake scientism that they're giving us on the mass media bullshit. Excuse my French, but it's like, no, I want to test this myself. I want to use direct observation. I want to calibrate my own being to my own thoughts and emotions. I'm not going to take someone else's verbiage and have that be my new indoctrination.
I love it. And that's exactly what I sort of learned to do by default, which was through a lot of the darkest moments. I actually put all of this like conditioning that I had sort of learned, and because none of it just stopped working. So I put it all aside and I was like, okay, what is it I want to do? What, right? And really start to think for myself, because those old ways stopped working. And, you know, really what you're talking about in this holistic model, at least that what comes up for me that I love, is success is not just something that we achieve or become very ambitious about externally, but it's connecting to the earth, to, you know, like you mentioned, the Father Sky, Mother Earth, and really seeing that there's more going on than just my level of thinking. And you know, I love that. So what would you say, Chervin, is success to you? Like, I know you mentioned this holistic way, but what, as you see it right now, what is success to you?
I appreciate your perspective as well. We obviously mirror each other in that sense, and it's always good to find another brother and see yourself in that person. This whole system where it's promoting the individual and idolizing the individual is very scary stuff. It's taken us away from like what our truth is, which is we're all reflections of each other. Yes. We're all mirrors of each other, and I think that really needs to be a root philosophy. People need to like start being aware that the more that you are pushing away, the more that you're extracting yourself, the more you're losing value of these beautiful relationships you can have. And that's where true growth occurs. I think ultimately we got to work through our trauma and understand where our programming comes from. So that we're in whatever, this is a Gregorian calendar schedule, which in my opinion is ridiculous. It has no, if you look at the systems of our cycles, the Gregorian calendar that we're on, 2022, this whole January to December thing, it's a false narrative. And that's a whole deeper conversation. But I think we have to look back and see, how did we evolve into the species that we are, where we're having the thoughts and emotions we're having right now? Most people got all their information from TV, from movies, from film. It's been regurgitated through the mass media systems. It's been regurgitated through the state-sponsored school programs. We've been given all these narratives that have dictated the mindset of, dominate, this whole competition thing, right? This whole thing that, this masculinity of ego complex, all of these things are so dangerous, and they've caused such a distortion in the field of balance and energetic balance. From there, we've learned nothing about how to develop faculties of being human, right? I see it all the time with children. Children should be out playing, experiencing on the earth, having their own reflections and developing their own forms of consciousness through the activities of exchange, as opposed to being in front of a TV or an iPad and being so isolated and being, staring into the abyss of some electronic radioactive device. How did that happen? How did we lose that? And then from there, you can start dropping into the health implications of what is being stripped away from not learning how to grow your own food, how to hunt for your own spring water, how to understand and navigate the land. These are things that as human beings, we're supposed to develop those faculties. And if we're not exercising those faculties, what's happening to our long-term and our short-term and long-term evolution? And what also emotional rationality are we losing by not having those experiences when we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even in the womb with the mother? Like, we can keep going back. We can go to the cosmic union of man and woman. How are men and women who's doing the most sacred act making love together? What's in their mind frame? Do they have metal amalgams in their mouth? Right? Like, I can go, dude, there's so much to explore here. All right. So I don't want to make it so crazy, but I think at the root of it, we have to figure out, are we just on this ride, just with someone's turning the railroad on, or are we leading the way for ourselves? And that's really an important thing, that you have to look in the mirror and take some time. And I think that's why we're having this renaissance right now in, psychedelics and sacred medicine and plant entheogenic compounds. I think that's why you see this, mass exodus out of metropolitan or urban cities. People are had enough. They're fed up. And we're generation lost at this point. Like the baby boomers, that generation after, it's most of them are undeveloped children.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's what's making big decisions right now in our medical system, in our financial institutions, in our educational systems. And that's why we're failing across the board. So if you're listening to this, I think the best thing you can do for yourself, number one, is get healthy. And that's a very broad term, but take a look at your patterns every day, right? Like simple things. Maybe you need to switch things up. Maybe you need to get uncomfortable. Maybe you're too comfortable, right? Totally. And we can explore epigenetics and talk about health and nutrition and wellness and putting yourself to the edge, what that does to the physiological body and the stability of the mind and the subconscious. There's so many ways to navigate that. And it's my favorite thing to talk about, my favorite thing to do. We pushed ourselves on a 12-mile hike yesterday, 12 miles, and 7 of them were up steep, hectic, windy turns. And then we got to a 38-degree spring water pool and jumped in there, right? So we're cold dipping. I mean, and all of a sudden I came back and I'm like, okay, I codes are cracking in my mind right now, and I'm thinking about new cool things. So again, stagnation creates disease. Stagnation undevelops your character and slows your evolution process. It also leads you towards dangerous pathologies. We need to, everything needs to be flowing and moving. And I mean that on a figurative level. Yeah.
Right there, what you just said, really, to me, that is screaming for the leadership on the next level that's required. And, everything I just heard you say is just, we've sort of tried to memorize who we are, by reading books and doing all these things, instead of remembering and unlocking, going into some of these unknown zones to us currently. And as you're talking, like, to me, it's always the image of, you got this acorn, if we're talking about nature, to go to the oak tree, that acorn has to lose itself. It's got to lose its identity and so many things. And it's uncomfortable to go to that next level of a seedling or a sapling, right? And and what's required is growth. And that's what I hear you saying. It's like, come on, guys, like, looking at the name of your podcast, wake the fake up. Let's not fall asleep here. There's an opportunity before us. And to me, that's what I see COVID and the challenges. It's like, okay, this no longer works. We got to go to the next level.
Yeah.
Right. So
totally.
Growing, that's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
But would you agree, my brother, that growing, like chaos and stagnation and, all of these feelings of, look at the society of mental health that we're in right now, all this, the awareness is trying to just come before us. Come on, look at this, look at this, look at this. We got to go to the next level. How important is it for us to really learn how to grow, that growing is uncomfortable?
It's the most important thing. It's really at the root of it all. Because if our entire situation, someone else is doing it for us, we are stripping ourselves of everything that we once were. And that we're there. We're already in that. And yeah. I'll give you an example. We've given our authority and our power away to the belief that somebody's coming to save us.
Totally.
And that could be the policeman, that could be the mayor, that could be the governor, that could be the doctor, that could be Jesus Christ.
Yes.
That could be whatever. If someone is going to save us, right? You have a large portion of the population that think that this dimension we're in is going to turn into hell, and that they're going to ascend somewhere else. Now, look, I don't take shots at anyone's religion. Your faith, that is amazing to have. I come across people of all faiths, that's beautiful. But if there's a fundamental part of the population, and I'm just using that as an example, that believes that, who gives a shit, this dimension is going to turn to hell, and because I believe this, I'm going to go to heaven over here. What incentive do you have? It seems like a complete conflict of interest of doing anything right for a future population. Totally. And we've gotten so stuck in our ego and our story that we can't think outside of ourselves. And we also think every single decision is permanent, that's one of the biggest illusions all time, is that, if I change this, it's forever. This is forever. This is forever. And we know that's a complete illusion, a complete farce. So again, I think at the root of this conversation of what we're getting at and what ideas we're opening up in people's minds is really reflect on your life. Reflect on your decision making every day. Reflect on how you might be treating people in your life? What kind of people do you have around you? Are you in pain and trauma and you're masking it with food, with experiences, with even hobbies, whatever, it doesn't matter. Are you not getting to the root of your issues? Are you avoiding the communication your body is signaling to you? Do you take painkillers? Right? That's another thing that's part of the whole escapism thing. Like, how did we get to a place where we have a $1 trillion industry that's trying to get you away from really understanding what your body's telling you? That's like, can you imagine driving off a lot like a $30 million hypercar, like a Koenigsegg or whatever, and you get off the lot, you're on PCH, all of a sudden 6 check engine lights come on. Can you imagine putting Scotch tape on front of those? If you had any thought, you'd immediately pull over and you'd have that car towed immediately to the dealership. Yet our bodies are infinitely more valuable than some $30 million hypercar. Totally. Yet we're doing that all the time. We're putting Scotch tape over every signal. And I'm not just talking about pain signal, I'm talking about emotional signal.
Yes.
I'm talking about all those things. And we keep escaping. And that, my friend, is so dangerous. And children are learning this. And the children are learning this. And now we're cycling in that. Rudolf Steiner, 100 years ago, he said 100 years from now. So right now, it was in Dornich. It was 1917. He gave a lecture. He said, 100 years from now, we're going to enter into an age of hyper materialism. Okay. He said, where soul will not fully carnate in body. And he said, 1/3 of the population, no matter what, will be completely separated from their soul's journey. So pretty much zombies. Okay. Now, this is his prediction. He said, you have 20 years. So from now until, let's say, 2040 in the Gregorian calendar, if we don't right the ship, if we keep going in that direction, you know what I mean? Like
totally
AI, computers, electronics, not integrating technology to create balance and comfortability in life, but using technology to run away from life, right? There's a difference there. If we don't do it properly and we let it run away like a chicken with its head cut off, just terrorizing everything, then we're going to enter a dystopian world called the 8th sphere. And at that point, we'll be completely extracted from anything human. And you can see it starting to happen.
Yes.
It's totally. I see it appear because my eyes are open and I'm scanning and I'm feeling into the collective consciousness. I'm around some of the most powerful people every single day. I communicate with some big people, and they're responding with the same information. And that's why I like to come to places like this where I'm out in the middle of nature, because I just can't even be around that anymore. And so we got some stuff to do. And this is the greatest mission of all time. Like they make all these, these movies of like superheroes flying around with lasers shooting out of their head. I think the life that I'll say it for myself, that I've incarnated here with purpose is to create change and have the best time ever. And that frequency is what I get up every single day and do my rituals like clockwork, and how I approach every single conversation and every single experience with pure intention. And that, my friend, is a recipe to living a life worth living. Because when you're so caught up in escapism, you lose sight of time. You always hear, as you get a little bit older, like, okay, every year I get a little bit older, it seems like it goes by faster. Have you heard that?
Oh, yeah.
You've heard that, right? That's cliche. Yep. So I have a postulation for that. You want to hear it?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay,
so we're stuck on this Gregorian calendar. Our whole lives have been on this wheel. Just think how weird that is. Like, get kind of psychedelic with me on this. We just took some mushrooms or something or whatever, maybe some other stuff. And you're just kind of like, wait a second, what is these bodies? what is this? Like, there's a sun and moon, and it's projecting energies, and our bodies come from the earth. If you remove all the organic minerals from our body, we wither away. So we're actually like earthly beings. Like, so it gets kind of trippy with me. And then you start looking at the calendars. You're like, wait a second. So my life has revolved around this January to December schedule. I have a birthday somewhere in there. And there's Christmas, there's President's Day, there's the Super Bowl, there's this holiday, there's Halloween, there's my mom's birthday. You know, I mean, just like, this is it, right? And then you have the weeks, the weekend, all filled with word magic, mind you. And then you have Monday through Sunday, and you have the work days, you have the 9 to 5s. It's crazy. And so your life, after 10, 15, 20, 30 years of that, all you're thinking about, and I'm speaking of the general population, is that next holiday or that weekend or this event. And so you're so out of your present, out of your breath. Most people are forgetting to breathe, right? Which is what gives us life. That's our prana, right? And so we're hyper looping into illusionary worlds. And
Fantasy,
then
right?
you have the TV, you have this, which throws more shade on it. So time goes by. So if you're not present with every breath, your day goes by like that, because you're not in your present. So that's why when we go out to the island, you know, because we're on the islands a lot. When I'm on the island, time stops.
Yes.
A full day on the land, plowing through soil, growing chocolates, sprouting the vanillas, picking fruit, walking down to the beach, intimate conversations, got the fire going at night. Those days last forever. I'm kind of like, wait, it's only 2:00. Like what do we do? Like,
absolutely.
So I'm just using that as an example. I'm not telling you that's how you have to live, but I'm just giving you the duality on the other end of that. So
exactly. You know, I love what you're saying, because there's such a difference between fantasy and magic. Your life can be magic.
Totally.
As you know, my world started to, my struggles were the greatest blessing I had, because it was like there was this crack in my reality, and it just sort of fell away. And I remember I started to remember who I was. And I started to remember, just even when I was little, Chervin, where I'd look at my hand and it would just be like its own psychedelic experience.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is this? Right. And so to me, there's a big difference. Fantasy is we're so disconnected. Yep. The magic is we're so connected to that spirit, that essence of us, that it's like things come more alive versus the AI, the artificial life, where we lose meaning. Would you agree? Because I want to dive into just your routine that you've been, speaking about. We got the energy going. We're freezing the technology.
That's right. I heard what you just said was perfect, dude. Between fantasy and real magic, right? And just being in that like hyper illusion versus like really grounded in and like seeing your purpose and defined self. Well said. That was awesome.
No, thanks, brother. Because I'm vibing with you, and it's
right on,
going
dude.
through. So,
I think another good one is knowing your weaknesses, like, and not let them define you, but like, don't be in denial about it either.
Yes.
Right. Like, so be present on like your experience and and what you're doing. And that's how you get better. I mean, and this is all momentum too. Like, you're not going to step into becoming, some yogi master levitating off the cliff who's fasted for 9 months tomorrow.
Totally.
You might not want to do that. I'm just saying, like, you're not going to get from A to Z in one click. It's got, and that you don't want that either, because you want to develop your faculties and create momentum, and momentum is a very interesting thing. Like that speed of inertia will transcend on the more present you are to make the right decisions. It could be like, okay, I'm going to listen to Sean's podcast, twice a week. And maybe I'm going to stop watching, forensic files at night every night. And maybe I'm going to get off Netflix. And maybe I'm going to stop treating my girlfriend like shit. And maybe I'm going to start looking in the mirror and taking ownership on a few things. Maybe I'm going to start drinking some spring water. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just certain things. You just start getting momentum and your soul starts to thank you and appreciate you. Being a fitness guy, when you go and you train, you put in 2 hours of work 4 or 5 days a week, and you put those tendons and ligaments and your central nervous system to stress loads, and you're taking on massive amounts of weight. The last thing you can do is not giving yourself good nutrition, getting good night's sleep, doing recovery methods, right? Yeah. It's like you're demanded of that. And you can't wait to do that. It's the same thing with, your emotional capacities and self. When you start doing good things for you, you want to reward it and you want to keep it going. You don't want to you can't go on a bender of like cognac after like training for, every day, right? It's just, you know what you're doing. Yeah.
I love it, man. You're nailing it. Absolutely. And, to me, the struggles are they contain, like, the problems. Wouldn't you agree? The problems contain the solution. And so 100%. We're looking outside of the very opportunity. That's why you don't want to, the life path we're on, it's on purpose. Wouldn't you agree? The freaking life we're living is on purpose.
100%. What do they say? It's from pain to purpose.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Isn't that one of the healing modalities, is to actually search for what our purpose is? Ask some of these questions instead of just trying to pop some Tylenol or Advil or, do it externally. No, I gotta find my purpose. I gotta look for what my purpose is and how does it merge with what's going on in the world. Would you agree? Totally. Do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, can you imagine if 50% of the world actually were living in their purpose? Just 50. Oh. I'll take 50. And instead of living like a false narrative, because when you're in a false narrative, you're in a false ego. When you're in a false ego, you aren't good for you. You're reaching, you're attracted to stress.
Yes.
That's a truth. That's why, like, for example, what are these, in the 90s and 2000s, even now, there was all this like emphasis on showing drama.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like these reality shows of like people fighting and all those talk shows of like, just like people just fighting each other about bullshit. And that attracted people because their comfort zone was being in that state. Like, absolutely. What?
Absolutely.
How do we get here? And today we're now the young adult is the children of those people. And so it's wild, man. It's, it's kind of the cosmic giggle too, right? So that's another thing.
Exactly.
You gotta sometimes you gotta sit back and just kind of be like, okay, dude, this is the best. This is hilarious. It is what it is. Because if you
we froze up, but totally, man. You got to have a laugh. Yeah.
You gotta have a laugh.
Gotta have a laugh. It's absolutely true. Like, to have a little bit of a light heart. I don't think there's any coincidence that a lot of the movies are about, zombie apocalypse right now, because it's like a reflection of where a lot of us, are. So yeah,
that could be a plan.
Just saying, hey.
Is anything? Totally. Is it random? I think not.
Yeah. No. Totally. One of the things you said, dude, was you're really committed to your daily rituals and routines, because the value of actually coming out of even the current reality you're in, it's like, okay, what's the next step? What's really, how do I really expand? How do I really grow? What is, you don't have to give it to me all, but what are some of the most important things you do to enhance that?
Yeah. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be like on somebody's wall. They're just always reminded, like, how you do anything is how you do everything. And for me, I find that I look outside of like my own perspective, and I look at the ancients, I look at the masters. There's a reason why. I mean, you have a lot of the new age spiritualism that is so hyper focused on their 5-dimensional. They don't take any time to practice and really learn what the ancients were doing. And I find that so disrespectful. And for me, it's like, you got to find balance in it all. And that's living in the Trinity, non-dualistic, not hyper spiritual, not hyper material, right in between. And that leads me to learn from masters that have walked this life before me. And I possibly have carnated parts of them in my soul. That's why it resonates with me. So when I look at the ancients, what I found was most of the highly spiritual people that didn't take care of their physical would burn out pretty quick.
Yep.
They're offering so much. There's so much in the head. There's so much in that frequency. They call it the blood too, that they burn out. They get those kinds of blood disorders, those kinds of pathologies. And then when you're super material, you get calcification issues, heart problems, and stuff like that. It's very interesting. And for me, most disease, if not all, starts in the mind. That is a very fascinating perspective. And it's starting to gain traction, because if you start looking at it like, okay, if you start, your behaviors aren't proper, you're not sleeping properly, you're not taking care of the physical body, you're not eating healthy, you're not moving the body. Well, your mind's making those decisions, right? That's why disease begins in the mind. So in order to get in front of that, you got to get consistent, and you got to have discipline, radical discipline, and develop rituals. And for me, my rituals are pretty simple. For the most part, if I'm not traveling and I'm not doing engagements, I'm in bed by 9:45 every night.
Yep.
I have no electronics around me, stopping usually around 6:30, 7 o'clock. If I do, I got my blue blockers on, and I'm not interfering with the light spectrum of my eyes, which is basically the development center of my circadian and is manufacturing many important hormones, including melatonin. And if I'm tricking my body into thinking that it's daytime, I'm suffering with my sleep. And most people are.
Totally.
Most people aren't sleeping at all. And if you're not sleeping at all, you're not dreaming properly. You're not recovering properly. You're not detoxifying your body properly. Sleep, this main thing about sleep is you're detoxifying the body. That's why you wake up, your eyes are crusty, you got film over your tongue. It's because your body's been going through a very systematic process, from the liver dumping to the kidneys releasing certain things, to the lungs being cleansed, to the lymphatic system in the brain going, and it all happens consecutive. So every hour before midnight that you get to sleep counts as 2 hours. So if you're in bed by 10 p.m., that's 4 hours of sleep right there. I rise with the sun. I'm naked every rise with the sun, with my bare foot on the earth, and I'm turning on every biological system of my body and activating every hormone in my body. And I'm also releasing all kinds of emotional toxins that have developed throughout my entire experience sleeping, which is a really radical experience that is part of this incarnation. Dreams are real. It's like it's not just some like old tap memory. It's like we're tapping into other worlds.
Yeah.
And the experience of being alive during the awaken hour is almost like a dream. It's holographic. I mean, you really think about it, what's happening. It's trippy. Like, light is hitting our eyes, and in that light is a frequency. So if I'm staring at like a tree out there, or here, I'll make an example. I can see out there, I can see a boat, a sailboat.
Yep.
If I'm looking at a sailboat, how is that becoming part of my reality? Well, sunlight is hitting the boat, which allows a frequency for it to bounce off into my retina. And so it's a
I know you'll be right back. You're
okay, here we go.
Cool.
So the frequency comes back, bounces into my eyes.
Yep.
Goes through the DHA, goes to the back part of the brain, shoots out biomimicry chemicals, and shoots up an image in 0.003 seconds in real time. So is the boat actually out there, or is it in here now? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's how freaking crazy this reality is, right? And so it shows you how important light is and how we've taken it for granted, because it's activating everything in our body. Light is the purest form of energy. I know breatharians that don't even eat, and they're just sitting on the earth, grounded in their breath work, and their food is. When you eat a tomato, or you eat a broccoli, or you eat lettuce or whatever, you're basically eating sequestered light.
Yes.
Now, those things don't grow without light. So it's a connection between biotics, minerals, and light. And so, look, it's so crazy. So your rituals are important. So rising with the sun, activating the body, turning on all those senses, and then from there I go into like my movement. I'm on a rebounder. Sometimes I go in a cold plunge. I'm putting salt in my body. I use shilajit, which is a mineral pitch resin from high elevation parts of the world, which is a plant mineral compound. You know what I mean? Like,
love it.
Doing all of these things, and I can tell you 10 million other things too, but it's like that's the core of it.
And that's why we could literally talk about this for like weeks, months, just nonstop. I know, because a lot of people, and a lot of them are even listening right now, the high achievers and performers, that sort of thing. They're thinking, okay, mindset, and yet reality, in a way that you're describing it too, is we're talking about brain states, because one of the beta, which is linked to the external world, is it's very active, but it doesn't contain a lot of inner knowing, and so it's very surface. And so as we can just get deeper into our brain, we actually don't think as much, but we begin to know things. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah, that's right.
And so this thing opens up the heart. So now there's this gateway that's opening, right? And so I know you and I could go into so many, areas and avenues, but what you're talking about is connecting with the earth, getting more into nature, feeding yourself, in holistic, natural ways. Start to get off of these toxins that we think is trying to promote certain thoughts of focus. No. Focus will occur when you start to, consume healthy, whole, and that's where I really want to go with your company, because you have a wellness company that's designed around a lot of this, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
so I'd love for you to just say, a little bit about your company, because I want to be able to direct some people there, most definitely.
Yeah, no problem. I would say right now at this point, I have about 130 employees now, and every single one of those people are in there with purpose and intention, and it's a family, and from top to bottom and everything in between. Everyone's there participating on the level of up leveling their life. That's the only way we can offer health, nutrition, wellness, and everything that we're talking about today. So my background's orthomolecular medicine. That's the study that the lack of nutrients leads you towards disease, and the lack of nutrients causes stagnation, and the lack of nutrients causes hyper problems, from autoimmune diseases to infestation of parasites to runaway inflammation centers, neurological problems. And we're food. Next time we'll do this in person. So
Totally.
We're supposed to be getting our nutrition from our food, but our soil's shot.
Totally.
Modern farming systems are a disaster. Even organic just means there's no herbicide fungus.
All right. You'll be back in a moment.
Okay, here we go.
You are back.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, you guys will be able to edit this, right? Is this a live feed?
It's live, but that's okay. We're just jamming. It's good.
Okay, yeah. So we're supposed to be getting our nutrition from our food. Food's shot. We have to supplement. And I always say you are what you eat, but more importantly, you are what you can absorb. And so with Symbiotica, I just wanted to design a line that was predicated on all aspects of health, can really activate people. And really, our whole thing is being transparent about everything we do. I always say how you do anything is how you do everything. Same thing with how we develop formulas. We go all over the world to source our raw materials. We use the most sophisticated forms of technology. We package our products in the most expensive packaging you can, because the actual product demands that it be in something that was standing. So I didn't even have a choice there, even though I had the choice, right?
Yes.
The purpose met each other there. And for me, it was a passion project that just happened to pick up steam for the right reasons and has built this crazy momentum. And we're innovative on so many different things. I have so many epic people I've partnered with on this. We're people's people. We're meeting people where they're at. So there's no like hierarchy bullshit. Yeah. It's just like we're here to that's my purpose right now, is to develop and create the most incredible formulations ever. And I also find it to be kind of a front. Like the main thing is slipping in consciousness. And that's really what it is. And totally. If you don't have a healthy body, you forget about like showing up. You're not going to be able to show up for people. And it's also an educational process. So it's not this whole thing like, oh, take this, you're going to lose 10 pounds, or take this, you're going to have brighter skin. Blah, 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 blah. That's all bullshit. Yep. We put 7 sophisticated raw materials together in liposomal form that work in synergy together to heal and correct and put you back into homeostasis. And the side of that is you might have better skin, you might have better sleep, you might have all these things. It's like we're getting the root causes. And my background, again, with orthomolecular medicine is epigenetics, right? So, and that's the biology of belief, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who's a good friend of ours. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So your environment dictates your reality, and it dictates your health. We know this whole thing where, oh, it's genetics, that's bullshit. 1.5%, 2% maybe of pathologies is genetics 100%. The rest has to be expressed through lifestyle and environment and nutrition and thoughts and emotions and all those things. And so my whole thing is, let's epigenetically upgrade 24/7 with every thought, every experience, and let's really take ownership and create sovereignty within the people. So they're not giving away their power, and they're living in freedom, and they're teaching their kids how to do things, and so on.
Beautiful. Wow, dude. Absolutely. That was so powerful right there.
Of course,
so powerful. Just hearing you say that, just this image of just this human ecosystem where people are bringing their gifts and talents, and it's creating this whole new reality that's in harmony, in balance, rather than trying to achieve balance. No, you're in balance. And that's phenomenal, man. Where can we follow you? Social media, websites. Where can we find out more about you, man?
Awesome. So I'm very reluctant with social media. The only social media I'm on is Instagram for the most part. That's my name, Chervin, Chervin 333. Okay. I'm a numerology guy as well. And my podcast is Wake the Fake Up. I think we've hit 5-star reviews across the board on every platform with Wake the Fake Up. I've had some of the biggest guests in the world on there. These are athletes that I train. Some of the top world #1 athletes in the world. I've also had a lot of the people that sit on the Symbiotica board on there, which are some of the top scientists, some of the top biodentists, some of the top doctors on the world that sit on the Symbiotica board. I've had them on Wake the Fake Up. And then also obviously symbiotica.com. And that's where you can find a breadth of formulas there that will blow your mind. And again, I'll say this right now, learn about everything. Don't just get it because it's shiny and beautiful and everyone's running towards it. Learn about it. Practice discernment. Exercise that part of your brain. And again, create momentum in your life. You have no idea what feeling good can actually get to. That's another thing. We don't realize like how good we can feel because we only know what we can know. And the body has this innate ability to block so much stuff, so much pain. It's fascinating. Have you ever gotten deep body work? Like deep body work, like where they're pulling a demon out of you? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about? Like wolfing times 10,
totally.
Where someone's grinding in those trigger points, right? Now think about it. Those areas are
I know you'll be back in a minute. There we go.
There you are. Okay, so those areas that you have those trigger points in your hips, on your inner quads, those areas are getting they're not getting a lot of blood flow. They're not getting a lot of movement because people aren't working through it and it becomes fibrotic, right? So when you press on it, you feel immediately the shards of glass in there, the sharp pain. That's always like that, but your body's turned that off.
Yes.
Just think about that. That should be like a big aha moment to your life. And so I go into those areas and I move those areas and I make sure things aren't stagnating and those crystals aren't forming and the calcification isn't forming and that fibrotic tissue isn't forming. It's the same thing with everything in your life. It goes across the board. You know what I mean?
It's those pain points, man. And that's why you said in the beginning, those pain points can lead you to your purpose. And I love what you just said, because if people get that, that'll blow your mind. Those conversations that when you begin to go for your purpose, when you begin to become healthy, you start to all of a sudden see this thinking where it's like, oh my God, I'm getting irritated. My emotions are bubbling up. My body's in pain. Oh my God, something's wrong. I got to stop. No, it means you got to keep going. You got to work through. It's always been there. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, that is a mind, bomb right there, man. So
for sure.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful.
Yeah, brother.
And, I just want to thank you for coming on. We could discover and dive deep on so many things, but I so appreciate and honor you because I know how busy you are. And brother, anytime, I would love to continue this conversation because we'll do it again. So much more wisdom. Absolutely.
We'll do it again, man. Absolutely. Big love to everybody out there. Thank you for joining us today. And again, just maybe this is all bullshit. Maybe it could work for you. Who knows?
They'll decide.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Lots of love, my brother. Have an amazing rest of your day.